In part 1, Tae-Hyun, a powerful Korean mafia boss, was losing his mind because his baby son Min-sik wouldn't stop crying. Then Malia, a mysterious Nigerian woman, walked in and the baby instantly calmed down, like he'd known her his whole life. Turns out, Malia was Hana's, Tae-Hyun's dead wife, best friend. And Hana left her a secret, a phone full of evidence proving she was murdered, plus a recording that revealed the ultimate betrayal. Min-sik isn't Tae-Hyun's biological son. Tae-Hyun's world shattered. Malia's heart broke. And just when they thought it couldn't get worse, armed men attacked the mansion trying to kill them all. And that's where we left off. So if you haven't watched part 1 yet, go watch it now. The link is in the description or at the top right corner of your screen. Trust me, you need the full story because part 2, it's about to get dark. And if you're already caught up, buckle up because this episode has betrayal, danger, forbidden love, and a twist at the end that's going to leave you shook. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single moment. Drop a like if you're ready, and let's get into it. The phone trembled in Tae-Hyun's hands. Hana's voice filled the silence of his bedroom, scared, desperate, breaking apart with every word. Malia, if you're hearing this, they're coming for me. Malia stood frozen beside him, one hand pressed over her mouth, the other cradling sleeping Min-sik against her chest. Tears streamed down her face, but she didn't make a sound. Couldn't. The weight of Hana's fear, even recorded months ago, crushed the air from the room. Tae-Hyun's jaw worked. His finger hovered over the screen. There were more recordings, more truths buried in this device that had almost cost them their lives to retrieve. Play it, Malia whispered, voice thick with emotion. Whatever she said, we need to hear it. He pressed the next file. Hana's voice came through again, but different this time. Not scared, resigned, like she'd accepted something terrible and was now just trying to survive it. Tae-Hyun, if you're listening to this instead of Malia, then I'm so sorry. I'm sorry for everything I'm about to say. I'm sorry for the secrets. I'm sorry for the lies. But most of all, her voice cracked and the sound of her crying came through clearly. I'm sorry about Min-sik. Tae-Hyun's breath stopped. Malia's eyes went wide. I need you to know, Hana continued through her tears, that I loved you. I loved you more than I knew how to say. But I made a mistake. A terrible, unforgivable mistake, and now someone knows. Someone who will use it to destroy you, to destroy us, to take everything. A long pause, the sound of Hana trying to compose herself, then he's not your child. The phone slipped from Tae-Hyun's fingers. It hit the carpet with a muffled thud, Hana's voice still playing, still explaining, still apologizing, but he couldn't hear it anymore. Couldn't hear anything over the roaring in his ears. Not his child, not his son. Not his blood, the baby he'd held, the baby he'd failed to comfort, the baby whose screams had driven him to the edge of madness because he couldn't figure out how to be the father this child needed. Not his. Tae-Hyun. Malia reached for him, but he stumbled backward, hand going to the wall to steady himself. Don't. The word came out strangled. Please, just listen. Don't touch me. His voice was ice, dead, hollow. Don't. I can't. He turned away from her, shoulders heaving, one hand covering his mouth, as if he could physically hold back the sound, trying to tear out of his throat. His other hand pressed against the wall so hard his knuckles went white. Malia clutched Min-sik tighter, the baby stirring slightly against her chest, but not waking. She watched Tae-Hyun's back, saw the way his entire body trembled, saw the moment he nearly collapsed under the weight of this revelation. He's still your son, she whispered desperately. Biology doesn't. Stop. Tae-Hyun's voice cracked. Just stop talking. But she couldn't. You've been his father since the day he was born. You held him first. You named him. I loved him. The roar tore out of Tae-Hyun so violently that Malia flinched. He spun around, and the look on his face was devastation personified. Eyes red, face twisted in anguish, every wall he'd ever built completely shattered. I loved him like he was mine, like he was part of me, like he was the only good thing I'd ever done in this God-forsaken life. Tears streamed down his face now, and he didn't bother wiping them away. And Hana, she let me believe it. She let me fall in love with a child that wasn't mine. She let me mourn the loss of becoming a father while his voice broke completely. While she knew the whole time and she never told me. Because she loved you, Malia said, her own voice breaking. Because she was terrified of losing you, because she lied. Tae-Hyun's fist slammed into the wall, and the sound echoed through the room. She lied about everything. Our marriage, our family, our child. What else? What else did she lie about? The question hung in the air like poison. Malia's lips trembled. She looked down at Minsik, this innocent baby who'd done nothing wrong, who deserved none of this chaos, and then back up at Tae-Hyun. She lied to protect you, Malia whispered, from whoever is after that evidence, from whoever killed her, from what? The truth? Tae-Hyun laughed, but it was a broken, terrible sound. Well, congratulations. The truth is out, and it's destroyed me. He turned away again, both hands now braced against the wall, head dropped between his shoulders. His breathing was ragged, each inhale sounding like it hurt. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The only sound was Hana's voice still playing softly from the phone on the floor, explaining things neither of them could bear to hear right now. Finally, Malia moved. Slowly, carefully, she crossed the room and picked up the phone. She stopped the recording and set it on the nightstand. Then she turned back to Tae-Hyun. I know you're hurt, she said quietly. I know this feels like betrayal, but that baby... She looked down at Minsik. He's innocent. He didn't ask for any of this. And right now, he needs you. Whether you're his biological father or not, you're the only father he's ever known. Tae-Hyun didn't move, didn't respond. And Hana, Malia continued, voice thick with emotion, she made mistakes. Terrible ones. But she loved you. I know she did. I saw it every time she talked about you. Every time she looked at your photo. Every time she cried because she missed you while we were oceans apart. She took a shaky breath. Whatever happened, whatever choices she made, she was trying to protect the people she loved, even if it meant destroying herself in the process. Silence stretched between them, heavy and suffocating. Then slowly, Tae-Hyun pushed off the wall. He turned to face her, and the look in his eyes was something Malia had never seen before. Not anger, not grief, something darker, something that scared her. Who's the father? His voice was flat. Dead. Malia's breath caught. I don't know. Don't lie to me. Not you two. I'm not lying. Malia's voice rose. I don't know. Hana never told me. I didn't even know she stopped, swallowing hard. I didn't know any of this until tonight. Tae-Hyun studied her face, searching for deception, for any hint that she was hiding something else. But all he saw was truth, raw, painful truth. He nodded slowly, then moved toward the door. Where are you going? Malia asked, panic rising in her chest. To find out who killed my wife. The words were cold, final. And who's been threatening my family? Tae-Hyun, wait. But he was already gone, the door closing behind him with a soft click that somehow felt more violent than if he'd slammed it. Malia stood alone in his bedroom, holding Minsik, tears streaming down her face, terrified of what Tae-Hyun might do next. 2 hours passed. Malia had put Minsik back in his crib, but she couldn't bring herself to leave the nursery. She sat in the rocking chair by the window, staring out at the Seoul skyline, watching lights flicker in distant buildings, wondering how the world could just keep moving when everything inside this mansion had fallen apart. She heard footsteps in the hallway, heavy, purposeful. Tae-Hyun? The nursery door opened, and he stood in the doorway. He changed clothes. Dark jeans, a black t-shirt, a leather jacket. His hair was wet, like he just showered. But his eyes were different. Colder, harder. The warmth she'd seen growing over the past days had vanished completely. We need to talk, he said quietly, mindful of the sleeping baby. Malia nodded and stood, following him out into the hallway. He led her to his study, a room she'd never been in before. Dark wood everywhere, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves. A massive desk covered in papers and monitors showing security feeds from around the mansion. Tae-Hyun closed the door behind them and moved to the desk. He pulled up something on one of the monitors, then turned to face her. I listened to the rest of the recordings, he said, all of them. Malia's heart pounded. And? Hana was being blackmailed. Someone found out about Minsik's real father and threatened to expose it unless she helped them steal information from my organization. Names, accounts, operations, everything. His jaw clenched. She refused at first. That's when they threatened to kill Minsik. So she gave them some information, small things, hoping it would be enough. But it never was. They kept demanding more. And when she finally tried to stop, his voice broke. That's when they killed her. Malia's hand flew to her mouth. Oh, God. The accident wasn't an accident, Tae-Hyun continued, and there was something terrifying in his calm delivery of this information. Her car was tampered with. The brakes failed. She drove off a bridge. He paused. They murdered her, and they made it look like she lost control. Do you know who? Malia whispered. Yes. One word. Final. Deadly. Who? Someone in my inner circle. Someone I trusted. Tae-Hyun's fists clenched at his sides. Someone who's been sitting across from me at meetings for months, pretending to mourn Hana while knowing exactly what they did. The rage radiating off him was palpable. Malia took a step back instinctively. What are you going to do? She asked, though she wasn't sure she wanted to know the answer. Tae-Hyun's eyes met hers, and what she saw there chilled her to the bone. What I should have done the moment Hana died. What I would have done if I'd known the truth sooner. Tae-Hyun. They took her from me, he said, voice low and dangerous. They took my wife. They threatened my son. They've been watching this house, watching you, watching Minsik, and you think I'm just going to let that go? I think, Malia said carefully, that you need to be smart about this, not reckless. If you go after them now in this state, you could... Could what? Die? He laughed bitterly. Maybe that would be better. Maybe that's what I deserve, for being blind enough not to see what was happening right under my nose. Don't say that. Malia moved closer, driven by an impulse she didn't fully understand. Don't you dare say that. Minsik needs you. I need. She stopped, realizing what she was about to say. Tae-Hyun's eyes locked onto hers. You need what? The air between them crackled with tension. They were close now. Close enough that Malia could see the exhaustion in his eyes, the barely controlled fury, the grief he was trying so hard to contain. I need you to not do something stupid, she finished quietly. I need you to think about that baby upstairs who just lost his mother and can't afford to lose his father too. I'm not his father, Tae-Hyun said, but there was less conviction in his voice now. Yes, you are. Malia's hand came up to rest on his chest, over his heart. Blood doesn't make a father. Love does. And I've watched you with him. I've seen the way you look at him when you think no one's watching, the way you hold him like he's the most precious thing in the world. That's not fake. That's not biology. That's love. Tae-Hyun's hand came up to cover hers where it rested on his chest. His fingers were cold, trembling slightly. She broke me, he whispered. Hana, with her lies, with her secrets. She broke something inside me that I don't know how to fix. Then let me help you, Malia breathed. Their eyes met, and the intensity was overwhelming. Grief and desire and fear all tangled together in the small space between them. Tae-Hyun's free hand lifted, fingertips brushing her cheek, and Malia's breath hitched. You shouldn't, he said roughly. I'm dangerous. I know what you are, Malia interrupted. I've known since the moment I walked into this house, and I'm still here. Why? The question was anguished. Why would you stay? Why would you put yourself in danger for people you barely know? Because Hana was my sister in every way that mattered, Malia said, tears welling up again. And because that baby upstairs deserves someone who'll fight for him. And because you... She stopped, swallowing hard. Because you're not the monster you think you are. Tae-Hyun's thumb brushed away a tear from her cheek. You don't know me, Malia. Not really. The things I've done, I don't care. You should, but I don't. Her hand pressed harder against his chest, feeling his heartbeat racing under her palm. I see you, Tae-Hyun. Not the Mafia boss. Not the cold, calculating criminal. I see the man who's terrified of losing the people he loves, the man who's been broken by grief and betrayal, but is still trying to protect what's left of his family. That's who I see. The words hung between them, raw and honest, and more vulnerable than either had intended. Tae-Hyun's forehead dropped to rest against hers. This is insane, he breathed. I know. We shouldn't. I know. But neither pulled away. They stood there, breathing each other's air, caught in the gravity of something neither wanted to name, but both felt with terrifying intensity. Then, from down the hall, Minsik began to cry. They sprang apart like they'd been burned. Malia's hand flew to her chest, feeling her heart hammering. Tae-Hyun ran a hand through his hair, turning away, shoulders tense. I should. Malia gestured vaguely toward the door. Yeah. She moved to leave, but his voice stopped her. Malia. She turned back. Thank you, he said quietly. For staying, for caring about him. He couldn't finish. I'm not going anywhere, she promised. And then she left, leaving Tae-Hyun alone in his study, surrounded by evidence of betrayal, trying to figure out how to survive what came next. The next day dawned gray and cold. Malia woke to find Minsik already awake in his crib, making happy gurgling sounds and playing with his tiny feet. The normalcy of it was almost jarring after last night's revelations. She lifted him out, changed him, and carried him downstairs, expecting to find Tae-Hyun gone, off handling whatever dark business the night had left unfinished. But he was in the kitchen, cooking. Malia stopped in the doorway, stunned. Tae-Hyun stood at the stove, spatula in hand, making what looked like scrambled eggs and toast. He'd rolled up the sleeves of his black button-down shirt, and there was something surreal about seeing this man, this dangerous, powerful man, doing something as mundane as cooking breakfast. He glanced up and saw her. Morning. Morning, she echoed, still processing. You're cooking. I do eat, he said dryly, despite what you might think. A ghost of a smile touched her lips. I just didn't expect. Is domestic Tae-Hyun? He turned back to the eggs. Yeah, well, Hana used to say the same thing. The name hung in the air, heavy and painful, but he pushed through. There's coffee in the pot. Help yourself. Malia moved into the kitchen, settling Minsik into his high chair. The baby immediately started banging his hands on the tray, demanding attention. She poured coffee with one hand while making faces at him with the other, drawing out his delighted giggles. When she turned back, Tae-Hyun was watching them with an unreadable expression. What? She asked. Nothing. He plated the eggs. Just, you're good with him. He's easy to love. Something flickered across Tae-Hyun's face, pain maybe or regret, but he covered it quickly. He brought plates to the table and sat down across from her. They ate in relative silence, punctuated only by Minsik's babbling and the occasional clink of silverware. It was strange, intimate, almost normal if you ignored the armed guards stationed throughout the house and the evidence of murder sitting in an encrypted phone upstairs. I need to tell you something, Tae-Hyun said finally, setting down his fork. Malia's stomach tightened. Okay. I'm having the house security upgraded. More cameras, more guards, reinforced doors and windows, a panic room in the basement that can withstand basically anything. Why? His jaw worked. Because I think whoever killed Hana knows I found her phone. I think they know what's on it, and I think they're going to come for it, for us. The weight of those words settled over the table like a shroud. How do you know? Malia asked quietly. This. He pulled out his phone and showed her a text message. Unknown number. Sent at 3 a.m. You have something that belongs to me. Return it, or everyone you love dies, starting with the baby. Malia's blood ran cold. Her eyes flew to Minsik, who was happily trying to stuff his fist in his mouth, completely oblivious to the danger surrounding him. Oh my God, she whispered. They're watching us. Tae-Hyun continued grimly. They know you're here. They know about the bank. They know everything. Then we go to the police. We? The police are part of the corruption, Tae-Hyun cut in. Hana's recordings prove it. High-ranking officers on someone's payroll, judges, prosecutors. If we go to them, we're dead within hours. Malia felt panic rising in her chest. Then what do? We prepare, we wait, and when they come, his eyes went hard, we make sure they regret it. The day passed in tense preparation. Contractors arrived to install new security systems. Guards rotated shifts with military precision. Tae-Hyun spent hours on the phone with people whose names Malia didn't recognize, speaking in rapid Korean too fast for her to follow. She stayed with Minsik, trying to keep his routine normal, even as the house transformed into a fortress around them. By evening, exhaustion had settled into her bones. She put Minsik down for the night and retreated to her room, intending to take a long shower and try to sleep. But when she opened her door, she found something waiting on her bed. A photograph. Her breath stopped. It was a picture of her, taken earlier today, through the window. While she was feeding Minsik in the nursery, someone had been outside the house, watching, photographing, and they'd gotten inside to leave this. Her scream brought Tae-Hyun running. He burst through her door, gun drawn, eyes scanning for threats. When he saw her standing there, trembling, pointing at the bed, he moved closer. His face went white when he saw the photo. Get Minsik, he said, voice deadly calm. Now, bring him to my room. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone but me. Tae-Hyun, Now, Malia. She ran. Malia burst into the nursery, scooped a startled Minsik out of his crib, and ran back down the hall to Tae-Hyun's bedroom. Her hands shook as she locked the door behind her and moved to the center of the room, clutching the baby against her chest. Minsik, sensing her fear, began to cry. Shh, it's okay, she whispered desperately, rocking him. It's okay, baby. I've got you. But it wasn't okay. Nothing was okay. From somewhere in the house, she heard shouting, then gunfire. Her heart stopped. More gunfire. Closer now, the sound of breaking glass, men yelling in Korean. Tae-Hyun's voice cutting through the chaos, giving orders, commanding his guards. Malia backed toward the bathroom, the only room with a secondary lock. She got inside, locked that door too, and sank to the floor in the corner, wrapping herself around Minsik like a human shield. The baby screamed, picking up on her terror, his little face red and scrunched. I'm sorry, Malia sobbed, holding him tighter. I'm so sorry, baby. I've got you. I promise. I won't let anything happen to you. More gunfire. So much gunfire. And then silence. The silence was worse. Malia held her breath, straining to hear anything. Footsteps in the bedroom. Someone trying the bathroom door handle. Malia. Tae-Hyun's voice rough and strained. It's me. Open the door. She scrambled to her feet, unlocked it, and threw it open. Tae-Hyun stood there, blood on his shirt. She couldn't tell if it was his or someone else's. His face was hard, cold, the face of the killer he'd been trained to be. But his eyes went soft the moment they landed on her and Minsik. Are you hurt? He demanded. No, are you? I'm fine. He reached for Minsik, and Malia passed the screaming baby over. Immediately, Tae-Hyun's voice gentled. Shh! Hey, you're okay. You're safe. I've got you. Minsik's cries began to quiet, tiny fists clutching Tae-Hyun's blood-stained shirt. What happened? Malia asked, voice shaking. 4 men, professionals. They cut the power, disabled some of the new cameras, came in through the east wing. Tae-Hyun's jaw clenched. They're dead now. You killed them? His eyes met hers. Would you prefer I let them kill us? She had no answer for that. Tae-Hyun shifted Minsik to one arm and reached for Malia with the other, pulling her against his side. Come on. We can't stay here. If they sent 4, they'll send more. Where are we going? Safe house. Somewhere even my closest people don't know about. He guided her out of the bathroom, through the bedroom, into the hallway. The scene was carnage. Bodies. Blood. Shattered glass. Bullet holes in walls. Malia's stomach turned, and she forced herself to look away, to focus only on putting one foot in front of the other. Jin-Woo appeared from around a corner, similarly bloodied but alive. Car's ready, boss. Back entrance. Good, clear a path. We're leaving now. They moved through the mansion like ghosts, guards flanking them, checking corners, weapons drawn. When they reached the garage, a black SUV waited, engine running. Tae-Hyun helped Malia into the back seat, then handed her Minsik and climbed in beside them. Jin-Woo took the driver's seat, another guard and passenger. 2 more SUVs pulled out behind them, security detail. As they peeled out of the driveway, Malia looked back at the mansion, the place that had been her home for barely 2 weeks. The place where everything had fallen apart. I'm sorry, Tae-Hyun said quietly. She turned to him. For what? For dragging you into this? For putting you in danger? He stopped, jaw working. You should never have been part of this. Hana made me part of it, Malia said. The moment she sent me that key, the moment she trusted me with her secrets. She shouldn't have. Maybe not, but she did. Malia looked down at Minsik, who was finally calm, eyes drooping with exhaustion. And I'm glad she did, because he needs someone, and so do you. Tae-Hyun didn't respond, but his hand found hers in the dark back seat of the SUV, fingers interlacing, holding on like she was the only solid thing left in his crumbling world. The safe house was a small apartment in a nondescript building in a quiet neighborhood. Nothing fancy, nothing that would draw attention. Jin-Woo and the guards did a full sweep while Tae-Hyun, Malia, and Minsik waited in the SUV. When the all-clear came, they went inside. The apartment was sparse, basic furniture, no personal items, everything neutral and temporary. But it was clean and secure, and right now, that was all that mattered. Malia found a bedroom with a crib, someone had thought ahead, and settled Minsik down. The baby fought sleep, still unsettled from the chaos, but eventually exhaustion won. Within minutes, he was out. She returned to the living room to find Tae-Hyun standing by the window, staring out at the city. He'd removed his bloody shirt, revealing a white undershirt and, unfortunately, a dark bruise blooming across his ribs. "You said you weren't hurt," Malia accused. He glanced down. "This? It's nothing. Got clipped during the fight." "Let me see. Malia, let me see." He sighed but turned to face her, lifting the undershirt. The bruise was worse than she'd thought, deep purple spreading across his ribcage. She touched it gently, and he hissed. "You might have cracked ribs," she said, worry lacing her voice. "Probably." "Tae-Hyun? I'll be fine." He dropped the shirt and caught her hand before she could pull away. "I've survived worse." They stood like that, her hand caught in his, too close and not close enough, the adrenaline from the attack still humming through their veins. "I was terrified," Malia admitted quietly, "when I heard the gunfire, when I didn't know if you were." Her voice broke. Tae-Hyun's free hand came up to cup her face. "I'm here. I'm okay. This time. But what about next time?" "What about?" He kissed her. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't soft. It was desperate and fierce and full of all the fear and adrenaline and unspoken feelings neither of them had been brave enough to voice. Malia made a small sound of surprise, then melted into him, her hands fisting in his shirt, pulling him closer. His arms wrapped around her waist, lifting her slightly, and she went willingly, pressed against him, forgetting for just a moment that this was wrong, that this was too fast, that they barely knew each other. None of that mattered. Not with death breathing down their necks, not with grief and secrets and betrayals swirling around them. Not when he kissed her like she was oxygen and he'd been drowning. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Tae-Hyun pressed his forehead to hers. "We shouldn't," he breathed. "I know." "Hana would want you to live," Malia finished. "Would want you to be happy. Would want." She swallowed hard. "She sent me here for a reason. Maybe this was part of it. That's insane. Everything about this is insane." He laughed, a broken sound, but real. Then he pulled back, studying her face in the dim light. "What are we doing, Malia?" "I don't know," she admitted, "but I don't want to stop. You might regret that. Let me decide what I regret." His thumb brushed her cheek. "You're too good for this. For me. For this world. Stop trying to push me away. I'm trying to protect you, then protect me by staying close." She grabbed his hand, pressing it over her heart. "Right here, where I can see you, where I know you're alive." Something in his expression cracked. He pulled her into his arms again, just holding her this time, his chin resting on top of her head, her arms wrapped around his waist despite his bruised ribs. They stood like that for a long time, two broken people clinging to each other in the wreckage of their lives, trying to find something solid to hold on to. Eventually, exhaustion forced them apart. Tae-Hyun insisted Malia take the bedroom with Minsik. He'd sleep on the couch, he said. Keep watch. But hours later, unable to sleep, plagued by nightmares of gunfire and blood, Malia found herself padding out to the living room. Tae-Hyun was still awake, sitting on the couch with his laptop, reviewing security footage. "Can't sleep?" he asked without looking up. "No. You?" "Haven't tried." She sat beside him, curling her legs under her. "What are you looking at?" "Footage from the house, trying to figure out how they got past the security." He paused the video, pointing. "There. See that? Someone disabled the sensors on the east wing from the inside." Malia's stomach dropped. "You mean?" "Someone in my organization helped them." His voice was ice. "Someone I trusted, someone who had access to my home security systems." "Do you know who?" "I have suspicions." He closed the laptop. "But I need proof before I act. In my world, accusations without evidence are a death sentence." "What will you do when you have proof?" His eyes met hers, and the darkness in them was answer enough. Malia should have been scared, should have been repulsed. But instead, she just felt sad. Sad for the man who'd been forced to become something he might not have chosen if life had been different. "Come here," she said quietly, opening her arms. He looked surprised, but moved into her embrace, his head coming to rest on her shoulder, arms wrapping around her waist. They lay back on the couch together, tangled up, exhausted but unable to sleep, finding comfort in each other's presence. "Tell me about Nigeria," Tae-Hyun said softly. "About your life before this." So she did. She told him about Lagos, about her family, about university in London, where she'd met Hana. She told him about her dreams and fears and all the small, ordinary things that made up a life. And slowly, as dawn began to creep through the windows, he told her things too. about growing up in the Mafia, about his father's expectations, about choosing this life not because he wanted it, but because it was the only path he'd ever known. By the time the sun rose fully, they'd fallen asleep in each other's arms, still holding on, still refusing to let go. The next few days passed in strange suspended tension. They stayed in the safe house. Jun-Ho and the guards rotated watch. Tae-Hyun worked contacts, gathering information, slowly piecing together who had betrayed him. Malia cared for Minsik, trying to maintain some normalcy for the baby, even as the world fell apart around them. And at night, when Minsik slept and the guards were stationed outside, Tae-Hyun and Malia found themselves drawn together again and again. Not always physical, though there were more kisses, more moments of desperate need, but mostly just present, talking, sharing, building something neither wanted to name, but both felt growing stronger every day. "This is crazy," Malia said one evening. They sat on the small balcony, watching the sunset over Seoul. Minsik was inside with Jun-Ho, who'd proven surprisingly good with babies. "What is?" Tae-Hyun asked, though he knew. "This. Us. Whatever we're doing. Do you want to stop?" She turned to look at him. "No. Do you?" "No." He reached for her hand, interlacing their fingers. "But I don't know what happens next. I don't know how this ends. Does it have to end? In my world, everything ends, usually badly. Then we change the ending," Malia said fiercely. "We fight for something different." He smiled, a real, genuine smile that transformed his face. "You make it sound simple. Maybe it is. Maybe we just decide to survive, together." "Together," he echoed, and the word felt like a promise. But that night, everything changed. Tae-Hyun's phone rang at 2 a.m. He answered, listened, his face going progressively paler. When he hung up, his hands were shaking. "What?" Malia demanded, fear spiking through her. "What happened?" "They found the person who betrayed me," Tae-Hyun said, voice hollow. "The one who let the attackers into the house? The one who's been feeding information to Hana's killers." "Who?" He looked at her with devastation in his eyes. "My brother. It was my brother." Malia's world tilted. "Your brother?" "Minho." Tae-Hyun ran a hand through his hair, looking lost. "My younger brother. I've been protecting him his entire life, keeping him out of the worst parts of the business, trying to give him a future I never had. Why would he? Money? Power? Greed? Take your pick." Tae-Hyun's laugh was bitter. He wanted control of the organization, wanted me out, and Hana's secret, Minsik not being my biological son, was his perfect leverage. "He killed her?" Malia's voice was horrified. "No, but he told the people who did where to find her, when to strike, how to make it look like an accident." Tae-Hyun's fists clenched. "My own brother. My blood. And he sold out my wife to climb a ladder I never even wanted him on." "Tae-Hyun." "I have to deal with this," he cut her off, voice going cold and distant. "Tonight. Now. Before he realizes we know. Let me come with you." "No." "Tae-Hyun, no." He grabbed her shoulders, forcing her to look at him. "You stay here. You protect Minsik. You keep him safe. That's what matters. Not revenge. Not my brother. Him." He glanced toward the bedroom where the baby slept. "Promise me." "I promise," Malia whispered. "But you promise me something too. Promise me you'll come back." His expression softened. He pulled her close, pressing a kiss to her forehead. "I promise." But they both knew it might be a lie. Tae-Hyun left with Jun-Ho, leaving 2 guards with Malia and Minsik. Hours passed. Malia paced, checked on Minsik, paced more, tried to distract herself with television, with a book, with anything. Nothing worked. Finally, at dawn, her phone buzzed. Text from Tae-Hyun. "It's done. Coming back soon." Relief flooded through her. He was alive. He was safe. But when he walked through the door 2 hours later, something was wrong. She could see it in the set of his shoulders, the haunted look in his eyes. "What happened?" she asked. He confessed. Everything. Tae-Hyun sank onto the couch like his strings had been cut. He was working with a rival organization. They wanted my territory, my connections, my power, and Minho wanted his share of it all. Where is he now? Gone. The word was final, and Malia didn't ask for clarification. Instead, she sat beside him, taking his hand. "I'm sorry." "Don't be. He made his choice." But his voice cracked slightly. "I just don't understand. I gave him everything. I protected him. And he betrayed you," Malia finished gently, "just like Hana did in her own way. People are complicated. They make terrible choices for reasons that make sense to them, but destroy everyone around them." Tae-Hyun turned to look at her, and the vulnerability in his expression broke her heart. Everyone I love lies to me. Everyone I trust eventually betrays me. Why would you be any different? The question hung between them, raw and painful. Malia cupped his face in both hands. Because I see you. The real you. Not the boss. Not the killer. Not the broken man everyone else has made you into. I see the person underneath all that, and that person deserves honesty, deserves loyalty, deserves love. Love? He repeated like the word was foreign. Yes, love. She leaned closer, pressing her forehead to his. I love you, Tae-Hyun. I know it's fast. I know it's crazy. I know we've only known each other for 2 weeks, but I love you, and I'm not going anywhere. His breath shuddered. His arms came around her, crushing her against him. I love you too, he whispered into her hair. God help me, I love you too. They held each other as the morning light spilled through the windows. Minsik began to stir in the other room, as the world slowly started to turn again. And for the first time in months, Tae-Hyun felt like maybe, just maybe, he could survive this. Days passed in relative peace. Tae-Hyun dismantled the rival organization piece by piece, arrested some, exiled others, made examples of the worst offenders. The Mafia world got the message. Don't touch the Park family. Malia settled into life at the safe house, caring for Minsik, building a routine, falling deeper in love with both the baby and the man who refused to give up on them. One evening, as they sat together after putting Minsik to bed, Malia remembered something that had been nagging at her since she'd first heard Hana's recordings. Tae-Hyun, she said slowly, can I ask you something? Always. Hana, did she know that Minsik wasn't yours? The question clearly surprised him. He was quiet for a long moment. Yes, he finally said, she knew. Did you? His eyes met hers. Not until the recording. She never told me. She let me believe he was mine right up until the end. Why do you think she did that? Fear, shame, love, maybe all three. He sighed. She was protecting me in her own twisted way. Protecting Minsik, trying to hold together a family that was built on a lie. Malia nodded slowly, processing, but something still didn't add up. Then? Who is the father? Tae-Hyun's expression went dark. I don't know. That's the one thing she didn't say in any of the recordings. Doesn't that bother you? Of course it does. But he stopped, jaw clenching. Whoever he is, he didn't raise Minsik. He didn't hold him when he cried. He didn't love Hana enough to save her, so he doesn't matter. The words were firm, final, but Malia's mind was racing. Because something Hana had said in that first recording kept echoing in her head. Someone knows. Someone who will use it to destroy you. Not just anyone, someone specific. Tae-Hyun, Malia said carefully. What if? She stopped. Because her phone was ringing. Unknown number. They both stared at it. Don't answer, Tae-Hyun said immediately. But Malia's hand was already reaching for it. What if it's important? Malia, she answered. Put it on speaker. Silence for a moment. Then a digitally distorted voice. Malia Okafor. You've been very difficult to reach. Her blood went cold. Who is this? Someone with information you need. About Hana. About the baby. About the real reason she died. Tae-Hyun grabbed the phone. If you have something to say, say it. Careful, Mr. Park. I'm not your enemy. Not yet, anyway. Then what do you want? To give you the missing piece. The one Hana was too afraid to tell you, and the one that changes everything. What piece? Tae-Hyun demanded. The identity of Minsik's real father. The world stopped. You're lying, Tae-Hyun said, but his voice wavered. Am I? Tell me, Mr. Park, does the name Lee Jin-Woo mean anything to you? Tae-Hyun's face went white. Who's Lee Jin-Woo? But Tae-Hyun couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. The voice on the phone continued, almost gentle. He was your business partner, your best friend, the man you trusted above all others, the man who died in the same accident that killed your wife. No, 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 no. They were having an affair, the voice said. For months. And when Hana got pregnant, she didn't know if the baby was yours or his. By the time she found out the truth, it was too late. Jin-Woo was dead. And she was left with a choice. Tell you and destroy you, or lie and hope no one ever found out. Stop, Tae-Hyun choked out. But someone did find out. Someone who wanted to use that information against you. And when Hana refused to cooperate, they killed her. And Jin-Woo? Well, he was collateral damage. Wrong place, wrong time. They needed her alone in that car. Why are you telling me this? Malia demanded. Because, the voice said, They're coming for you next, Malia. The people who killed Hana, they know you have the evidence. They know you're with Tae-Hyun, and they know exactly where you are. Panic flooded through her. How? Because Hana named you? The voice interrupted. In her final recording, the one Tae-Hyun hasn't played yet, the one that explains everything. Tae-Hyun grabbed Hana's phone from where it sat on the table, scrolled through the files with shaking hands, found one labeled Final Message, for Tae-Hyun only. He pressed play. Hana's voice filled the room, thick with tears. Tae-Hyun, if you're hearing this, I'm already gone, and I'm so sorry. I'm sorry for the affair. I'm sorry for the lies. I'm sorry for everything. But most of all, I'm sorry that I have to ask this of you. She took a shuddering breath. Malia, she doesn't know. She doesn't know why I really sent her to you. She thinks it's about protecting Minsik, about giving you the evidence, but it's more than that. Malia's heart began to pound. She's the key, Hana continued, to everything, to the conspiracy, to the people who want you dead. Because Malia, her voice broke completely. Malia is Jin-Woo's sister. The phone slipped from Tae-Hyun's fingers. Malia's breath stopped. She doesn't know, Hana sobbed through the recording. She has no idea her brother was the father of my child. No idea he was killed because of me. No idea that bringing her to you puts her directly in the crosshairs of the people who murdered him. No, this wasn't. But I need her there, Hana continued desperately, because she's the only person I trust, the only person who can protect our son, the only person who can help you survive what's coming. The recording ended. Silence crashed down on the room. Malia couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Jin-Woo, her brother, the brother who'd moved to Korea years ago, the brother she'd lost touch with, the brother who died in a car accident at the same time as Hana. Her brother was Minsik's father. Her brother had an affair with her best friend. Her brother died because of it. And she'd been sent here, to the man whose wife her brother betrayed, with no idea of any of it. Malia, Tae-Hyun breathed, and when she looked at him, she saw it all on his face. Betrayal, horror, confusion. I didn't know, she choked out. I swear to God I didn't know. But you're his sister, Tae-Hyun said, voice breaking. You're the sister of the man who? He couldn't finish. The phone on the table buzzed. One final message from the unknown number. They're already on their way. Run. And then from outside, the sound of cars pulling up, doors slamming, footsteps, many of them. Tae-Hyun's eyes met Malia's across the room, across the chasm of secrets and betrayals that had suddenly opened between them. I'm sorry, Malia whispered. I'm so sorry. But there was no time, because the door burst open and everything exploded into chaos. Wait. Did you just see what happened? Malia is Jin-Woo's sister? The man who had an affair with Hana? The man who's Minsik's real father? And she had no idea this entire time? I need you to comment part 3 right now because we cannot leave it here. Drop it in the comments, part 3. Let me see it. And listen, I have so many questions and I know you do too. Will Tae-Hyun ever forgive Malia, or is this the end of them? Who just broke into the safe house? Are they finally caught? Did Hana plan this all along, or was this some twisted accident? How did Malia not know her own brother died in the same accident as Hana? What's going to happen to baby Minsik? Drop your wildest theories in the comments, because some of you are literally psychic with these guesses. If you're not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because part 3 is about to be insane. We're talking answers, action, heartbreak, and a twist that's going to leave you shook. This story is getting darker, the stakes are getting higher, and I promise you, part 3 will have you screaming at your screen. So one more time, comment part 3 below, smash that like button, share this with someone who loves drama, and let's get into these comments because I'm reading every single one. I'll see you in part 3, and trust me, you are not ready.